Yes, President, we are ready.
Friends, a very good morning to all to this ACA at 11. Friends, today we have with us Advocate CA Jatin Harjai ji. Jatin ji, welcome to you in this session of ACA. Friends, as you all know, we have been conducting the online session regularly at 11, and we have recently also started the regular programs at 6 p.m. in the evening. So at the same Zoom ID, our this program is also beamed live on Facebook, and it's also all the videos are also available on the YouTube channel. So please do join us. Even if you miss particular session, you may view our videos online through Facebook and YouTube. Friends, before I start the session, uh, I'd like to update the programs which we are having in the coming days. Today evening, we are having a session with Sivani. Sivani, although she is an expert on GST, but today evening she'll be talking on how, as a professional, we can fall back to sports as our daily routine. So please do join us at 6 today evening. On 23rd, that's tomorrow, we are having a session on bank audit in the wake of COVID-19 using Excel, and it would be taken by CADS Premnath from Hyderabad. There would be two sessions, 11 in the morning and 5:30 in the evening. On 24th of April, 11 a.m., we are having a session on Benami law, which should be taken by Advocate CA Ashwani Taneja. He is former member IT80 from Delhi. And the second session on the Benami law, anti-money laundering, interplay with income tax law, will be on Saturday, 25th April at 6 p.m. And on Sunday, we are having a session with Mr. Ajay Agarwal on the topic TTT to public speaking skill, a general overview. So, friends, there are a lot more programs this week which we are planning, and that is underway. And the details of the same will be shared with you all through Facebook, WhatsApp, and other communication channels. So please do join us daily at 11 and 6. Friends, with this, I would like to hand over to Tarun. Tarun, I would request you to kindly introduce our speaker to this audience and start the session.
Thank you, Jitu Bhaiya. Am I audible? Is my audio clear?
Yes, yes, Tarun, please continue.
Thank you, Jitu Bhaiya. Welcome to all the participants in today's video conferencing through Zoom. Jatin Harjai ji, welcome today to our session. Jatin ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Tarun ji.
Thank you. To formally introduce Jatin ji, although he is a very well-known figure in the GST and indirect tax specialization area, but to formally introduce Jatin ji is an advocate, a practicing advocate. He practiced as a chartered accountant for more than 15 years before starting his legal practice. Jatin ji, this is an addition to your qualification list of qualifications. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
In this short span of time, he has become recognized for his contribution and expertise as a knowledgeable professional advisor and consultant in the field of financial consultancy and tax advisory. We all know that Jatin ji is part of the Indirect Tax Committee of our ICAI at New Delhi for the last many years. Jatin ji, आपका profile तो थोड़ा सा लंबा है, so I'm skipping majority of them. I think with these words, I welcome Jatin ji to today's session, and it is all yours, Jatin ji. You can now take it forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tarun ji. Thank you very much. It's actually lovely to be here again. It's actually a good time during this lockdown period that I am among West Bengal. So, but I don't know why again. I thought कि change तो नहीं हुआ है, कोई वो जो पहले बात की थी उसमें कुछ confusion तो नहीं रह गया. Anyways, ये सर मेरे पास बार बार ये ब्लिंक कर रहा है. If host can manage this, कि बीच बीच में disturbance नहीं है. Anyways, I'll go ahead. So Tarun ji told me कि we have to be very very strict with time, and precisely we will close 12:05. I forgot that. So we have approximately 15 minutes, and the topic is in input text.
Jatin ji, can you be a bit louder actually? No?
Is it audible now?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. See, input tax credit, we all know that it's a kind of backbone of this GST. Today, we are not going ahead with any specific provision or maybe provision by provision. What is input tax credit to understand? I am presuming that we all are professional here and we know what the law is. So I'll be talking about specifically of the issues only, except first 5 minutes, whereby I'll discuss some fundamentals about ITC, then 5 minutes about the law, then I'll take up for rest of 40 minutes directly the issues which are there, intricacies which are there in the input tax credit. So starting from some of the fundamental aspect which we should know about this input tax credit provisions in GST or maybe the era prior to GST is, what is the input tax credit precisely? अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं input tax credit, what is it? Precisely, this is the amount which is being paid by a recipient to the supplier so that that supplier can deposit this amount with the government. Basically, the recipient is discharging his prospective liability of taxes through a agent, through a registered person, registered by the government, through a person registered under the law. Basically, that fellow, the supplier who is collecting the taxes, is working like an agent of the government for the purposes of collection of the taxes. This is what we can understand mechanism which is there, and this mechanism not only in the GST, it was there in service tax, excise, maybe in the mod VAT, sen VAT, and even in the service tax, VAT. All these form of taxation were having this kind of mechanism whereby we used to collect tax and deposit it to the government. Now, what happened in any kind of any value-added tax system, the amount which I have paid is I am eligible, I am rightful to get the credit of it, because it is deductible from my ultimately the taxes which I have been paid. So let me go through with the objectives of the GST. If we'll go refer a statement of objects of the GST law, maybe starting from the Constitution Amendment. If we'll go by the Constitution Amendment itself, one of the important objective was removing of the cascading effect. And what is the meaning of removing of cascading effect? That is specifically means the taxes on tax should not be there. That means the credit has to be allowed. The credit of the taxes which have already been paid, it has to be allowed. It is specifically mentioned in the statements of object and reasons attached to the 122nd Constitution Amendment Bill 2014, which finally approved as a 101st Constitution Amendment Act. Thereafter, in CGST Bill 2017, again the statement of the objects and reasons says that there has to be a seamless flow of the credit. This is one of the objective. So please bear in mind, जब भी हम input tax credit provisions की बात कर रहे हैं, तो backdrop में जो provisions हैं, जो backdrop में interpretation के कोर्ट के जो interpretation ultimately आने वाले हैं, तो वो objects को ध्यान में रखते हुए आते हैं. कोर्ट्स के जो हमेशा interpretation है, वो इस तरीके से निकलते हैं कि legislative intention क्या थी, which is put in words by the legislature. उस लाइन के ऊपर अमेंडमेंट आने वाले. तो precisely in relation to input tax credit, the input tax credit is intended with the objective of provisions of input tax credit should have the objective of seamless flow of credit and to reduce the cascading effect as max as possible. यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा एक और मेंशन करना चाहूंगा, maybe at times of the issues I'll repeat it again. This input tax credit, precisely the amount of tax which I have paid to my supplier, to my vendor, this is what? This is there is a debate. एक डिबेट बहुत कॉमनली इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स प्रोफेशनल्स के बीच में चलती है, जो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट, जो पैसा मैंने अपने सप्लायर को दिया है, व्हाट इज दिस इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट? इज इट अ राइट और इज इट अ बेनिफिट? For this kind of discussion, for these discussion, we can refer some of the landmark judgments, which one of the I can recollect is Aisha Motors, which was there in 106 ELT 1999 page number 3. So that was very important judgment. अगर उस जजमेंट को रेफर करेंगे तो आज के सिनेरियो में जीएसटी में कई जगह लगेगा. अगर फैक्चुअल पोजीशन उस लॉ की मैं उस पर्टिकुलर केस की अगर मैं रिकलेक्ट करूं तो इट वाज लाइक देयर वाज सम चेंज इन स्कीम ऑफ लॉ. लेट मी गिव यू वन एग्जांपल इन द जीएसटी लॉ. Comparative example: builders were having input tax credit till 31st March 2019. All of a sudden, with effect from 1st April 2019, the credit scheme was changed, the scheme of taxation was changed, and they were supposed to reverse the credit. So precisely in this scheme, what happened? They are forced to reverse the credit, which those guys were otherwise legally eligible. They have legally claimed it. Now, can anyone do so? Can government do so? Ultimately, the courts will answer it. But I'm just referring you one of the landmark judgment of the same kinds of fact. In Aisha Motors also, what happened is scheme of law was changed, and court finally held once the credit has been taken, it is a right. It is a right in the hands of the recipient. So he is having every right to set it off with its output liability. Number one. On the same footing, in the same year, 1999, 112 ELT, Daiichi Karkaria, it was another judgment. They also referred the Aisha Motors and said, yes, input is a right, absolute right, the moment it is rightfully availed, but the facts were a bit different. Facts in that case were about the determination of cost on which the tax is to be levied. So in that case also, the Supreme Court referred the judgment of the guidelines of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India also. Then they specifically said, okay, even once the credit is rightfully accrued, in that case, it cannot be denied. So that was in computation of cost, they have not added the ITC amount. So precisely coming to the same conclusion that this particular amount, that amount of input tax credit or the taxes which has been paid to the supplier is a right. Again, coming to the third judgment, which is very, very important in the GST era, Siddharth Enterprises. It came in respect of transitional credit, we all know. So in transitional credit also, the Gujarat High Court in case of Siddharth Enterprises referred these both of these judgments, and then specifically referred one of the article of the Constitution also, Article 300A, which gives a right to property. So they said input tax credit is a property, right to property. कोई भी इसको deny नहीं कर सकता. So these are some of the arguments in favor of what the input tax credit is a right. So how come one can deny any right to me? It's coming to the second aspect. Some people or a second school of thought is it is a kind of benefit. Why benefit? Because if we go to the statutory provisions, liability to pay taxes on a supplier. So ultimately a supplier is supposed to pay his taxes on its output supply. Then there is a kind of benefit is given in the form of ITC with some restriction. If these restrictions are being followed, then this amount will be reduced from your output tax liability. So this is what I would say ki technical or academic debates are going on. But even if it is a benefit, then also there is a landmark judgment from the Supreme Court that any benefit cannot be denied on the ground of procedural incompliances. The Supreme Court termed this as a doctrine of substantial compliances in the case of Harichand Shri Gopal 2010. Anyways, I'll come back to it as and when required. So coming to the next part, this is what fundamental aspect I think which we should be careful with these things, that what is input tax credit. Now see, coming to GST law. GST law has a very, very specific provisions. 16 subsection 1 allows you the credit, allows the credit to any of the tax, either of the registered person. There are total 4 limbs are there. For being eligible for input tax credit under section 16 subsection 1, one has to be registered person. He should have been charged input tax. Now what is input tax? Input tax is a central tax, state tax and integrated tax. That's it. So input tax has been charged, and precisely GST has been charged on inward supply of goods or services which are used or intended to be used in the course or furtherance of the business. That's it. These 4 conditions are there. If we go by these 4 provisions, 4 limbs of section 16 subsection 1, so many doubts are getting cleared. I have today morning only, I have received a couple of SMS and WhatsApp messages from different participants. I'm sure those will be on call as of now with some queries on ITC. If we'll read this particular section 16 subsection 1 carefully, so many doubts are getting cleared. I'll take up those doubts one by one at the last. Secondly, please mind then section 16 subsection 2 is there, which starts with a non-obstante clause. It says notwithstanding anything contained in section 16 itself, पूरे section में जो भी लिखा है, these 4 conditions are there before entitlement. You will not be entitled to the credit until as these 4 conditions are satisfied. 4 conditions are, you have the tax paying document, that is invoice, you are having invoice or bill of entry or debit note or ISD invoice. Excuse me, these items, these 5 documents are being prescribed in the rule 36. So basically you should have a tax paying document with you. You have received the goods or services, taxes in respect of such supply has been paid. Please mind, now there is with this clause C, there is a reference to section 41, which is a provisional credit. I'll come to it as and when required. Now, 4th is furnishing of the return. For claiming of the input tax credit, for getting entitled to it, these 4 conditions are necessary. I'm leaving these 3 provisos. Then we know what is input tax credit provisions. Section 17 subsection 1 with regard to apportionment for business. 17 subsection 2 with regard to apportionment of utilization of input tax credit in exempted supply. Then 17.5 blocked credit. Blocked credit is with respect to so many things: motor vehicle, food, cab, works contract, construction, goods lost, destroyed, stolen. So many doubtful things are there. So we'll come back as and when required on a specific clause to clause basis. So after this, just giving a small introduction to these provisions, now I'm coming on some specific issues and intricacies in the GST law. Precisely, how I planned this 50-minute session is 2 intricacies which is talk of the town of today, maybe since 3 or 4 months or maybe 5 months. That's section rule 36.4, which caps the credit up to the tune of 10%, now earlier 20% of the, precisely we can say the amount which is reflected in GSTR 2A, rule 36 sub rule 4. Second is section 16 subsection 4. On these 2 I'll go in detail. Then I'll come up on the questions which I received on SMS on today, which are being faced by the peoples. So starting from 36 sub rule 4, see, this particular rule says that your credit shall not be exceeded to 20%. Now it has been amended with effect from January 2020 to 10% of the eligible credits availed, in respect of which the supplier has filed his statement of outward supply under section 37 subsection 1. Now, precisely what they are saying, because whatever supplier files in this his statement of supply under section 37 subsection 1, which is GSTR 1, if my supplier files 37.1, then it will get reflected in my GSTR 2A, except some technical errors or maybe some clerical error. If we leave them, then precisely whatever is there in GSTR 1 of my supplier, it will be reflected in my GSTR 2A. So precisely we can say this particular rule wants us to restrict or to cap the input tax credit up to 10% of what is eligible credit shown in GSTR 2A of the taxpayer. We can just understand with the help of one example. Let us say my eligible credits are 120 rupees. Let us say in particular month, my eligible credits as per my books of accounts are 120 rupees. I'm repeating my word, eligible credits. I'm not saying ineligible or the total input tax. Eligible input tax credit, that means other than 17.5 etc. is 120 rupees as per my books of accounts. Now what happened? In GSTR 2A, the total credit is being reflected as INR 100. Rupees 100 is being reflected in GSTR 2A. And let us say out of this 100, now GSTR 2A is reflecting some of my ineligible credits also, let's say 10 rupees. So that means eligible credits reflected in GSTR 2A is 90 rupees. So this rule wants to restrict our credit to 99 rupees. Instead of that, I could have claimed whole of 120 rupees. This is plain reading of this rule 36.4. For this particular period, when we are suffered with this pandemic COVID, then some relaxation is there. that from February to September, we can make this kind of adjustment in the last month, which is the September for this period put together. So that's fair enough, this particular relaxation. But let us understand, we all know what kind of issues it has been raised, this rule 36.4, because maybe month to month comparison, maybe comparison with section 16.4, whether that has been within that limit or not. Maybe the other aspect can be the quarterly suppliers that are not even supposed to file their GSTR1 within the time frame. Anyway, so many things are there, but I'm not coming on, I'm not on this particular aspect, I'm on legal aspect. So my point is whether this kind of rule is legal or legitimate as well. So I'm just referring you one of the process of claiming of the return as per GST law. Please mind whatever I'm saying is part of GST law even on today. It's not like it was there earlier. It is a part of law as on today. So if we go to section 37, it says you have to file a taxpayer has to file a return of outward supply by 10th of the next month, and rule 59 says this form would be GSTR1. So precisely section 37 read with rule 59 says you will have to file GSTR1, that is a statement of outward supply, by 10th. Then on this 11th, yani very next day of the due date of this GSTR1, 2A will get reflected to the recipient's account, and please mind, recipient will be eligible. Then on the basis of GSTR2A, recipient will be eligible to take those credit and will have the right to add any of the credit which is not there in GSTR2A. That's the very, very important aspect which is there in section 38 itself, read with rule 60, that law allows me to take the credit of the amount which is not being reflected in GSTR2A by filing my statement of inward supply in form GSTR2. So now what happens, many people are having in their mind, okay, GSTR2 is suspended or it is not there in the law books as of now, but please hold me for a moment. Now what I'm sharing it with you, law says like this, even today, the GST law, section 38 is nowhere gone. Section 38 is very well in the statute books. Rule 60 is nowhere gone. It is very well part of the statute books. It has never been deferred. So as per law, I'm supposed to file my GSTR2 on the basis of GSTR2A along with, and in addition to what is not there in the GSTR2A. So this is what my right given by the statute. If I have some, and now the law is very well drafted in this manner that if I am claiming any of this sort of credit, then there is an inherent mechanism in the law to check that I am not given any undue credit. So if I am going to claim any of the credit which is not matched basically, which is other than 2A, then the system will generate a GSTR1A to the supplier, and then the supplier is supposed to say yes or no, whether he has supplied this kind of supplies to the recipient or not. If it is not, if it is say yes, then very well. If it is say no, even then I am allowed to take this credit as per section 41. Then the issue will go to section 42 and 43, whereby read with rules which says the government will give an intimation, the system will give an intimation to both the parties, to the supplier that okay, this kind of credit has been taken by the recipient, and to the recipient that you have taken this kind of credit. So then there is a whole mechanism is there in the law. Just to refer you, just for a ready reference, please have a look at section 38 subsection 1, which is very well part of the statute as on today also, which clearly says that the recipient shall verify, validate and modify. The word modify, that means I will be able to change it. Then it says in the last, which I have made bold, may include therein the details of inward supply and debit or credit notes received by him in respect to such that have not been declared by the supplier in section 37 subsection 1. So what is rule 36.4? They are saying कि जो आपके 37.1 में सप्लायर ने नहीं दिया उसका 10% ही क्लेम करोगे, वो रूल क्या अचीव करने की कोशिश कर रहा है? सेक्शन को ओवरराइड करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. Is it possible? Section specifically says The recipient may include therein the details of inward supply and credit or debit notes received by him in respect of such supply that have not been declared by the supplier under section 37 subsection 1. It is my right given by the statute. How any rule can override it? So precisely speaking, the same thing can be read by the gone through by the section 38 subsection 3. Please mind this return GSTR 2A is filed, or let me rectify myself, is was supposed to be filed in section 38 subsection 2. So 38.3 specifically says the details of supply is modified, deleted or included by the recipient and furnished under subsection 2 shall be communicated to the supplier concerned in such manner and within such time as may be prescribed. So now what happens? Let us say, coming back to the same example. As per my books of accounts, I am having a input tax rate of rupees 120. Eligible input tax rate is 120. GSTR 2A is reflecting 90 rupees as eligible supplies. So what is my right? I can add additional 30 rupees credit into GSTR 2. Now again the issue comes in mind. Okay, so GSTR 2 is not there. Please mind, I always say in my seminars with regard to this input tax credit or maybe in return related issues, please never ever say it, because it is not the real position. Have anyone seen a single notification, a single order which specifically says GSTR 2 is discontinued? I have not seen till now. I have not seen any of such notification till now. Let me show you some of the notification which says, yes, GSTR 2 is yet to be filed. Please have a look at, just a minute. I think it is getting blocked. Yes. Can you see this? These notifications?
Yes, Jatinji.
Please have a look at these notifications. And these are only the examples. There are many other notifications which say so. I just wanted to cover whole of the period started from July 2017 to the latest one is March 2020. So if you go to the notification number 58/2017, which says we will notify the date of GSTR 2 for period July 2017 to March 2018. We will subsequently notify. Date is yet to be notified, even for the period July 2017 to March 2018. Notification number 11/2019. It says the same thing for July 2017 to June 2019. Notification number 28/2019 specifically says so for July 19 to September 2019. And then the latest one, 46/2019, says so for the period October 2019 to March 2020. So please mind, government also by way of notification has always said that we shall notify the date of GSTR 2. There is a minor difference between the first three notification which is there on your slide and the last one, which I am not addressing as of now because that's not relevant for me for this topic at least. So please mind that we are referring that statutorily as per the provisions of law, GSTR 2 is yet to be filed, and the moment it will be filed, I'll be having the right to claim my whole of the credit. And till the time this GSTR 2 is there, I have every right to take the credit on the provisional basis as per section 41. Because if the system is not being implemented by the government or any of the agencies of the government or any of the company to whom the government has assigned some task, it is not the fault of the assessee, and any of the rule cannot be said to be, no, in my humble opinion, कोई भी rule scheme of law को surpass नहीं कर सकता. This is very, very crystal clear. And ये चीज भी हम सब लोगों को पता है कि scheme of returns is supposed to be changed. Let me rectify. May 2018 से ही हम सुन रहे हैं कि ये scheme of returns change होने वाला है, जो कि न्यू फाइलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न सिस्टम अप्रैल से आने वाला था. अभी भी लास्ट में जो अप्रैल से वापस अक्टूबर में कर दिया, उसके लिए एक स्पेसिफिक प्रोविजन है सेक्शन 43A which is there in the CGST Act, but please mind that has not been notified. 43A is having sub clause 4 of making this type of capping which is there in rule 36.4. So precisely if we directly want to identify under which provision, under which authority from the GST Act this rule is being enacted, at least I could not find out the particular provisions other than 43A4, and 43A itself has not been notified till now. So if the same is not there, how come one can say that this is a particular provision which is validly taken? So I don't want to go to these comments that this is just a judgment which I posted on social media a couple of days ago also, maybe tomorrow, yesterday or day before, that the High Court has also observed the same thing, that the GST implementation was not proper. I have posted this is not the new case, this was a 2018 judgment, but I have wanted to say these things, that these paras quoted by the High Court will be very well of advantageous at the litigation stage to demonstrate that even the High Court has said that GST law was not properly implemented. So we know that GSTR 2 was never implemented, and government is deferring and almost regularly deferring the dates. It's not the assessee who has deferring any date, or it is fault on the part of assessee. So in my humble opinion, the rule 36(4) will not be able to sustain, and practically it is very, very difficult to implement it, even if someone wants to implement, because litigation will be there in this particular aspect. If someone wants to follow it, the only way out is to implement your, just like the banks are having KYC mechanism, you just implement a know your supplier mechanism in your whole of the system, and try to implement as much as possible. Because if the GSTR 2A is having correct figure, then there is no issue. Issue will be there when the GSTR 2A is not reflecting the correct credits. Apart from this, what I shared with you, that GSTR 2A, GSTR 2 date is yet to be announced or something, and rule 36(4) is curtailing the right of statutory right given by the CGST and SGST Act itself. There are a couple of other things are there which one can consider while arguing this type of case in court of law, or maybe in appellate stage. Input tax credit, which I initially said, is it a vested right or it is a benefit? If it is a vested right, if it is a constitutional right, no one can curtail it. One. Number two, if it is a benefit, even if it is a benefit, the doctrine of substantial compliances propounded by the Supreme Court in this judgment, Harjai Shri Gopal, even in that case, Supreme Court says that any directive conditions or any procedural conditions cannot do away the assessee with the precise, if the conditions of any benefit, substantial conditions of any benefit are complied with. This is what been held by the Harjai Shri Gopal. And rest of the things are there, which now let me go to the another topic, because I think it's already 11:35. Okay, coming to the another litigative and disputed issue of 16 subsection 4. See, so to be on your slide first, 16(4) को जिस तरीके से हम लोग सब समझते हैं, वो प्रिसाइजली क्या है, एक टाइमलाइन है. टाइमलाइन किस चीज की? दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. टाइमलाइन है किस चीज की? दिस इज वेरी, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. टू मी इट इज अ टाइमलाइन फॉर टेकिंग इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट. Now this word is very, very important. On the subject headline I have highlighted it, taking. So I'll discuss it in bit detail. But before going to that aspect, one of the very, very common question which everyone asks nowadays, it is like, if I get to know somewhat of my ITC liability in relation to year 17, 18 and 18, 19 as of now. आज की रेट में मुझे पता चलता है कि 17, 18 और 18, 19 का कोई RCM मुझे पे करना था, वो पे होने से रह गया. Can I pay so? And if I pay so, then can I take the credit of it? Issue comes from this provision, section 16 subsection 4, which says प्रिसाइजली, जिसका कि कॉमन इंटरप्रिटेशन लिया इस तरीके से लिया जा रहा है कि 16(4) ऐसा टाइम बारिंग मैकेनिज्म लगा रहा है कि आप क्रेडिट 17-18 का 17-18 छोड़ देते हैं, बिकॉज देयर इज अ स्पेसिफिक प्रोविजो फॉर इट. 18-19 का क्रेडिट सितंबर 19 के रिटर्न के बाद नहीं ले सकते. सो कुछ इस तरीके का लिया जाता है. लेट अस से 18-19 का कोई क्रेडिट था, कोई RCM था, उसकी लायबिलिटी मैंने आज तक पे नहीं की, एंड नाउ आई वांट टू पे इट. Can I pay it? And if I pay it, can I take the credit? This is what a precise question. So I'll request everyone to read this particular provision of law with me, word by word, letter by letter. It specifically says a registered person shall not be entitled to take input tax credit in respect of any invoice or debit note for supply of goods or services or both. So precisely यहाँ लॉ क्या कहना चाह रहा है? मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि लॉ सप्लाई को रेफर नहीं कर रहा. प्लीज माइंड दिस इज सेटल्ड रूल्स ऑफ इंटरप्रिटेशन कि कोई भी किसी भी लाइन में कोई वर्ड्स जो लिखे गए हैं उनकी भी इतनी इंपॉर्टेंस है और जो नहीं लिखे गए हैं उनकी भी उतनी इंपॉर्टेंस है. सो जो भी वर्ड्स लिखे गए हैं उनको मीनिंग देना पड़ेगा अगर हमको प्रॉपर और करेक्ट इंटरप्रिटेशन लेके आना है तो. सो इफ विल गो टू दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट, इट सेज shall not be entitled to take input tax rate in respect of any invoice or debit note for supply of goods. What is basically invoice? What is the invoice? Invoice is a document for taking the credit. So if we go to this RCM provision, there is a specific provision, section 31 subsection 3 clause F, which says जो RCM का मैं पेमेंट जब भी कर रहा हूं तो मुझे एक इनवॉइस बनाना है. इनवॉइस बनाने का जो प्रोविजन है आरसीएम के केसेस में, इट इज स्पेसिफिकली गिवन इन सेक्शन 31 सबसेक्शन 3 क्लॉज एफ. तो मैं अज्यूम कर रहा हूं कि जिस आदमी ने आरसीएम का पेमेंट नहीं किया 100% ये मतलब 99% ये चांसेस है कि उसने इनवॉइस नहीं बनाया होगा. दिस इज व्हाट अजम्पशन आई कैन टेक. On the basis of this assumption, that means I did not had any kind of duty paying documents as well. So आज जब मुझे पता चला, then I will make the invoice as per section 31 subsection 3 clause F on today, and then only I'll be eligible to take the credit on the basis of this document only. So जब मैं इस डॉक्यूमेंट के बेसिस पर क्रेडिट ले रहा हूं, so वो डॉक्यूमेंट कब का है? आज का क्रेडिट है. So ये क्वेश्चन ऑफ लॉ इस प्रोविजन से निकल के आता है, दैट इज क्या ये जो रेस्ट्रिक्शन है, ये रेस्ट्रिक्शन सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स की डेट के लिए है या फिर उसकी इनवॉइस की डेट से है. लेट्स टेक सम अनदर एग्जांपल. लेट अस से कि अगर मान के चलिए एज अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट समवन प्रोवाइडेड सम कंसल्टेंसी इन द मंथ ऑफ मार्च 2020. सो इनवॉइस जो उसको बनाने का टाइम अलाउड है एज पर सेक्शन 13, टाइम अलाउड इज 30 days. Accordingly, that chartered accountant has made an invoice in the month of April 2020. So इसके लिए ड्यू डेट कौन सा आएगा? इसके लिए 16/4 का राइडर कब से आएगा? In my humble opinion, rider will not be September 2020, rather rider would be September 2021. That means we will go by the date of invoice. I hope it is I'm clear on this. Now coming to the earlier example of the RCM one. So RCM liability was there in the month of 1819, in the year 1819, and now I am depositing it and now I am making invoice of it. So precisely this particular invoice is being made in the month of April 2020. So in my humble opinion, 16/4 will start counting time limit from April 2020. I don't see any issue with anyone, even for the government also. Reason being, government को आज की डेट में टैक्स मिल रहा है और इसीलिए क्रेडिट भी तभी दे रहे हैं उसको. तो ये एक चीज तो ये निकल के आती है. दूसरा इशू ये निकल के आता है कि इवन जब हम बात कर रहे हैं क्रेडिट की, तो लायबिलिटी ये कब की थी? 1819 की. सो क्वेश्चन कम्स वेदर इंटरेस्ट इज टू बी पेड. यस, इंटरेस्ट इज टू बी पेड. So that will be actually a cost to the supplier. In my humble opinion, in such RCM situations, the correct legal situation is, if I am going to pay 1819 or 1718 RCM today, I will have to pay it along with interest. So interest will be the cost of the taxpayer, whereas the credit I'll be eligible to take. This is what my interpretation of this particular provision 16(4). Coming to the different aspect. Now what happened, let us say, जो क्रेडिट ऐसा बहुत कुछ हुआ कि 1819, लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ 1819 अगेन. 1819 का क्रेडिट था, बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में लिया, एंड समहाउ द असेसी वाज नॉट हैविंग द फंड्स और मे बी एनी अदर रीजन. सो असेसी कुड नॉट फाइल हिज रिटर्न्स इवन. So maybe all of his returns, maybe in relation to January, February, March, April, May, June, they all are put together and they were being filed in the month of November or December of 2019. So precisely जो सितंबर की टाइम लिमिट थी, उसके टाइम लिमिट के बाद में वो रिटर्न फाइल हुआ. I'm repeating the facts to just to again highlight the situation कि इस particular context में इसको किस तरीके से पढ़ा जाना चाहिए. This is what my interpretation. मैं वापस facts रख रहा हूँ. फाइनेंशियल ईयर 1819, फाइनेंशियल ईयर 1819 की रिटर्न लास्ट की जनवरी, फरवरी, मार्च, एंड मे बी इन द 1920 की इनिशियल मंथ्स की रिटर्न, वो सारी की सारी रिटर्न्स एक साथ फाइल होती हैं कब? आफ्टर सितंबर 2019, यानी कि वो टाइम पीरियड निकल गया 20 अक्टूबर वाला, उसके बाद फाइल होती है। नवंबर में, दिसंबर 2019 में जाके फाइल होती है। अब असेसी वहां पर क्रेडिट लेके आना चाह रहा है, और ऐसे बहुत सारे केसेस हैं जिनमें कि ये क्रेडिट आ रही है। इस तरह बनेगा, क्या वो क्रेडिट ले सकता है? एक प्राइमा फेसाई वन स्कूल ऑफ थॉट व्हिच कम्स डायरेक्टली, नो। हेलो, इज इट ऑडिबल? साउंड सम Tarun ji, is it audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay, fine. See, इसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा देखिए, अब यहाँ ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करने की जरूरत है। जो मैं आपसे डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ, इट्स बिट लिटिगेटिव, एंड प्लीज ट्राई टू कंसंट्रेट ऑन इट अगेन। मैंने एक वर्ड आपको बार बार यहाँ पर हाईलाइट कराया, shall not be entitled to take input tax credit, correct? So let us go to section 16 subsection 1, which is eligibility provision. वहां पर क्या लिखा हुआ है? वहां पर भी जो एलिजिबिलिटी प्रोविजन भी यही वर्ड यूज करता है वहां पर कि रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन सब्जेक्ट टू these कंडीशन बी एंटाइटल्ड टू टेक क्रेडिट ऑफ इनपुट टैक्स चार्ज। तो वो क्या करने की बात कर रहे हैं? टू टेक क्रेडिट ऑफ इनपुट टैक्स चार्ज। यहां पर भी वही बात है। नाउ लेट अस गो टू सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2, which starts with a non-obstantive provision. It says, notwithstanding anything contained in this section, no registered person shall be entitled to the credit. Now see the difference between these two terminologies. 16.1 and 16.4 uses the term entitled to take, whereas 16.2 uses the term no registered person shall be entitled. So there is a difference between these two terminologies. 1 and 4 is entitlement to take ITC, whereas 16.2 is outright entitlement. First of all, section 16.2 has a non-obstante clause. So there can be one line of argument that when I am complying with condition of 16.2 A, B, C, D, then other provisions doesn't apply. This can be one argument, but I don't want to go on this loose argument, I would say. So my point is that see, आपने अलग-अलग जगह जीएसटी लॉ में अलग-अलग देखेंगे, बहुत सारे वर्ड्स यूज हैं। जीएसटी लॉ में कई जगह वर्ड यूज है, एलिजिबल, कभी एंटाइटल्ड, कभी अवेल, कभी टेक, कभी यूटिलाइज, बहुत अलग अलग तरीके के वर्ड्स यूज है। उन हर तरीके के अलग अलग वर्ड का अलग अलग जगह पर मीनिंग देना पड़ेगा। अगर नहीं देंगे तो उसका काम नहीं बनेगा। तो क्रेडिट कब लेना है और कब मैं एंटाइटल्ड हूं, दीज टू आर डिफरेंट टर्म। सो इन माय हम्बल ओपिनियन और इन माय हम्बल व्यू, आई अंडरस्टैंड कि दिस टेक क्रेडिट इज द टर्म जबकि मेरे पास कोई इनवॉइस आया और उस इनवॉइस को मैं अपने बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूं। लॉ मुझे स्पेसिफिकली, जीएसटी लॉ मुझे स्पेसिफिकली कुछ बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स बनाने की बात करता है। आई विल कम टू इट इन अ मोमेंट। सो जो मुझे स्पेसिफिक तरीके से मुझे बुक्स बनाने की बात करता है, वहां पर इनपुट टैक्स के डिफरेंट रजिस्टर्स हैं, इनपुट टैक्स के डिफरेंट लेजर्स हैं। तो उसमें जो वर्डिंग्स हैं, वो उस वर्डिंग के हिसाब से फर्स्ट ऑफ जो मेरा एंटाइटलमेंट टू टेक, यानी मैं कब क्रेडिट ले रहा हूं, जो मैं उसका मतलब निकाल रहा हूं कि वो बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में किस दिन क्रेडिट ले रहा हूं, दैट इज व्हाट taking credit. It is not I am claiming it in return. तो claiming के लिए return claim word अलग से use हो रहा है. Let me show you some section 35 read with rule 56. Mandates for every taxpayer to make three type of true and correct account, true and correct ledgers of these three type of accounts. One is input tax, true and correct ledger of input tax, true and correct ledger of input tax credit availed, true and correct ledger of input tax credit claim. These three type of different ledgers are there. जिन लोगों के भी हो सकता है, कुछ लोग हैं, I think यहाँ पर जहाँ हमने implementation वगैरह का GST का काम किया, we made sure that these three type of different ledgers are there. So first entry, the moment I receive a bill, I book it in my input tax ledger. This is what taking credit. This is what I understand. Now, what is filing in return? Filing in return is a claiming of the credit. This is what I understood. And please mind what happens. Return is nothing but a reflection of your whole of the transactions. Whatever I am discussing here or what I am telling in here, it basically supported by one of the very good judgment of the Sestet Chennai, which was there in Ford India Limited's case. In this particular case, ये बेसिकली एक्साइज रिजिम का केस है, जहां पर उन्होंने RG23 रजिस्टर के ऊपर यही वाली चीज एनालॉजी लगाई कि जब आपने रजिस्टर में एक बार एंट्री मेंशन कर दी, देन इट इज यू हैव टेकन द क्रेडिट। वो जो रिटर्न में डालना है, that is only a kind of reflection of your books of accounts. So please mind, again 16.4, the way I am interpreting here is कि मैंने अपने books of accounts में credit ले लिया, I am sure books of accounts में credit जरूर ले लिया होगा, but could not file my return in time. So in my humble opinion, 16.4 doesn't apply over here. Though this dispute, one can very well say this may be a disputive preposition and fighting preposition, but it's having a good base also. So with this, I think I should conclude this 16.4 because so many things will, so many issues, I would say more than 90% issues gets resolved or maybe get supported by this view for taking the credit. Just to share that I am already in the process of High Court in both the 36.4 and 16.4 situation which I have discussed with you. So since the time is going fast, it's 11:48. So let me come to some of the, just a minute, let me directly come to the, this one is the slide. So these are just, I have mentioned some of the issues. Tarun ji, ये मेरे पास issues जो आज SMS या WhatsApp से आए हैं वो मैंने just list out कर दिए हैं as it is.
अच्छा.
For today's seminar, should I go ahead on these or you want participants to raise the question?
नहीं, आप इसको issues को लीजिए ना, उसके बाद अपने पास chat में भी questions है, उसको उसके बाद ले लेंगे.
Okay, fine. So see, I'm just taking some of the questions. Whether an automobile dealer can take credit on capitalized demo cars. See, what happened in automobile dealers, it's a very, very common practice that demo car gets capitalized. Without commenting on that whether it should be capitalized or not, I would say that for claiming credit, for claim of credit, for taking credit under GST law, section 16.1 doesn't refer to any kind of capitalization or non-capitalization. It uses the words goods or services. GST charge on goods or services. It doesn't say whether it is capital goods or not, though capital goods is separately defined, but it doesn't use these particular terminologies. So no problem, you can very well go ahead and take the credit. But please mind, when you are going to sell those cars, sell those particular demo cars, then there will be different propositions. So as of now, I'm not answering that because the question is in relation to taking of the credit. So now second question is supplier paid differential tax at the time of filing of annual return, whether credit is eligible. So what I understood from this question, or if I understood wrong, please rectify me, whosoever asked this question. See, supplier ने जो पहले कुछ tax rate charge किया, let's say 5%. Then after that he get to know, okay, now the correct rate is maybe 18% or maybe 12%. Then the differential tax has been deposited at the time of filing of AR or maybe any time thereafter. So whether credit is eligible, my humble opinion, yes, credit will definitely be eligible. Please refer provisions of section 34, subsection 1, along with explanation given to section 34. So you should raise a supplementary invoice or a debit note at this point of time, and the credit shall be eligible to the recipient accordingly. Now coming to the supplier charge GST on exempt supply, whether ITC is eligible to the recipient. See, supplier has charged the GST on exempt supply. Please mind, what is exempt supply? It is being defined in section 2 subsection 47. It says the supplier, one of the elements. See, there are three elements. One of the element is supplies whose are wholly exempted under section 11. If some supply is exempt under section 11, then it will be exempt supply irrespective of the fact whether you have paid the taxes or not paid the taxes. So whether a supply is exempted supply or not, it doesn't determine by the fact that it is a supply on which tax has been paid or not. It is not a determinant factor. The determinant factor is whether it is wholly exempt under section 11 or not. The moment it is a wholly exempt under section 11, it will be exempt supply. And the moment it is an exempt supply, what's going to happen? Okay, the question is for recipient, not to the supplier. Now what happened? Again, there is a catch. See, now what happened? Now in this particular provision, you will have to refer section 11. Section 11, which is of exemption provision, it says that no one will charge the tax which is in excess of what is as per law. So once this supply is exempt, one cannot charge the tax. So there will be no tax on that particular supply. So if someone has collected, so the collected amount is not a tax. It is a kind of amount or any amount or a deposit. So what happens? The recipient has not paid the tax, rather he has paid the other amount. Though he can claim refund, but is not eligible for ITC in my opinion. Please mind, ITC will not be eligible in my humble opinion of this type of amount. But yes, one can go for refund of it. Coming to the next, can credit be claimed by the bill traders? So I don't want to discuss these bill traders or circular trading. Please mind whatever right and whatever basically kind of other things which I discussed with you on this, maybe different judgments, Aisha, maybe Daiichi Karkaria, maybe Arise India, which I have not discussed, which is very relevant when RS Infra, Rajasthan High Court. These all are for the bona fide taxpayers, not for the circular trader and etc. all these things. But yes, how to manage these things is a different kitty. That how see what happens इनकी जो circular trading और bill trader के केस में भी हो क्या रहा है कि A ने B को बेचा, B ने C को बेचा, C ने D को बेचा, D ने E को बेचा और सारे के सारे डमी हैं. So they'll not be getting benefit of these kind of lovely judgment from the courts. But action of the department to ask credit amount and the supply amount from each and every is also wrong. So today it's not time to discuss that amount. There can be a altogether separate session for this particular puzzle. It takes at least 1 hour's time for it. So now coming to the next issue is taxpayer charged and paid GST on exempt supply, whether ITC is eligible to. Okay, this is what I understood earlier. So this question, 5th number is कि मैंने GST मेरी exempt supply थी and I charged a GST on it. Can I be eligible to ITC on my procurements? My answer is no. Even though you have paid the GST, then also your supply is exempt, and as per section 17 subsection 2, no credit shall be eligible to you. Now next is supply of agriculture produce paid RCM on GTA. Okay, whether eligible for ITC? In my humble opinion, no. Reason being, agriculture produces, as you said, as I understood, is exempted. The moment it is exempted, you might have paid RCM on GTA, but it will be exclusively attributable to the exempted supply, and the same shall be out of GST. And I'm assuming this agriculture produces, which the question is, these are exempted ones. So in that case, this particular GTA expenses of GTAs are exclusively attributable to exempted supply, and as per provision section 17 subsection 2 read with rule 42, the ITC shall not be eligible. Now this one is a very, very interesting question. Rent-a-cap, whether credit shall be eligible. See, what happened earlier, section 17 subsection 5 used to have a very specific clause for it, that rent-a-cap credit shall not be allowed. Section 17 subsection 5, notwithstanding anything contained in 16.1 and 18.1, input tax rate in respect of these things shall not be allowed. So there was a clause rent-a-cap. Now this clause is no more there. Now the question comes whether the rent-a-cap credit, rent-a-cap means just like we are talking about Ola, Uber type of things. So whether credit will be allowed or not. So again, my humble opinion is the credit shall not be allowed. Reason being that clause B has been amended. Section 17 subsection 5 clause B has been amended to provide that credit of motor vehicle hiring and leasing shall not be allowed, and this rent-a-cab is nothing but a hiring of the cab. So the credit shall not be allowed even in that case. So now let's come to different next issue. 4 years old stock written off, whether ITC reversal required. Yes, this is basically, in my humble opinion, the no ITC reversal is required. Precisely this question is referring to section 17 subsection 5 clause H. Clause H is the one which says if the goods are lost, stolen, written off, in that case ITC reversal is required. So in my opinion, what happens, what this question is saying, 4-year-old stock. 4-year-old stock, we are talking about the stock which was purchased before implementation of GST. So if someone has paid either excise duty or VAT on those type of goods, that amount, excise or VAT, is not a input tax credit itself, as defined section 262 and 263 of the GST law. As per these provisions, the input tax is the tax which we have paid under state law, central law, integrated law, not the earlier one. Legislature को जहाँ भी पुरानी बात करनी थी, उन्होंने specifically mention किया input tax credit plus ITC of earlier years. So in this particular provision, it says only input tax credit. So we cannot go beyond legislative intention. So this is what my opinion. No return, no ITC reversal is required for this particular purpose. Coming to the last point, whether ITC eligible for CSR expenditures, it might be relevant for this GST purpose. At least in this COVID era, because so many companies are giving amount for this CSR expenditure. Once you are directly giving a contribution to any of the funds like PM Care or any other fund, CM Relief Fund, something. In that case, there is no question of any ITC because you are directly giving them out. So question can comes when you are buying something, maybe some cloths or maybe something, etc., other items, and then giving it to the as a charity to some people, whether these credits shall be allowed or not. See, actually, it's a it takes at least 10 to 15 minutes time if I'll go in detail, but the dispute was already there in income tax law. और वहां पर एक इन्फोसिस का जजमेंट था जिसने ये बहुत अच्छे से, क्योंकि यहाँ इश्यू क्या आता था कि CSR expenditure is normally not a business expenditure. If we go by the company law provisions, so precisely it cannot be a business kind of expenditure. But please mind, business definition was different, is very, very exhaustive and elaborative in GST law. That's why they can tax, government can tax so many other items. Same business definition is used for the ITC as well. And even in the income tax era, there was a one high court judgment from the in the Infosys Limited. In that case, it is being specifically said that even these CSR expenditure, because it is a compulsion from the law for the purposes of the business, the credit shall be allowed. So after that, there was some amendment in the income tax for specifically disallowing this time of credit, whereas this kind of specific disallowances of the credit is not there in GST law for CSR expenditures. So I believe I can take a safe call as of now that the credit is eligible for this. Maybe a simple advice can be, if you don't want to invite any litigation, then you may avail the credit, but will not may take a call not to utilize it, so that there will be no, if even maybe in the times to come, court says though it is not available, in that case you have not utilized it, so you can reverse it without even payment of interest. There is no question of any penalty on it. So with this, I have tried to answer the questions also, which I have received in maybe yesterday night or today morning. So over to you, Tarunji, if you want me to address some of the queries.
Thank you, Jatin ji, for taking the questions as well as making a very detailed presentation. We have some questions in the chat box, but some people are raising their hands. I'll first unmute them. विकास सुल्तानिया जी, विकास जी मैंने आपको अनम्यूट किया है, अनम्यूट करिए। हेलो,
हेलो,
हाँ विकास जी बोलिए।
हाँ
आपका क्या
जतिन
क्वेश्चन है?
सर, आवाज आ रही है सर?
हाँ हाँ बोलिए ना।
हाँ सर, मेरी एक क्वेश्चन है। अपना इनपुट लेने का ड्यू डेट जो होता है वो सितंबर रिटर्न होता है नेक्स्ट ईयर का, तो ऐसा बहुत सारा इंडस्ट्रीज फॉलो करते हैं कि सितंबर महीना में वो फॉर एग्जांपल हम 18-19 का इनपुट सितंबर 19 के रिटर्न तक ले सकते थे। तो हमने क्या किया कि सितंबर 19 के रिटर्न में अदर आईटीसी में दिखा दिया और उसको रिवर्सल में दिखा दिया, क्योंकि उसका हमने पेमेंट, सपोज जो डिस्प्यूटेड पार्टी होगा तो हमको पेमेंट अभी 180 डेज के बाद करना है उसे, तो मैंने उसको रिवर्सल में भी दिखा दिया। तो क्या ये इनपुट अवेल्ड कहलाएगा और हम उसको 180 डेज के बाद भी क्लेम कर सकते हैं?
देखिए ऐसा है जी, दो चीजें हैं। पहली बात तो आपने ये कहा कि सितंबर रिटर्न में क्लेम करना होता है। जस्ट लेट थोड़ा सा करेक्शन कर रहा हूं जो आपने कहा, सितंबर रिटर्न नहीं, इट इज अ ड्यू डेट ऑफ द रिटर्न।
जी सर, yeah, I got it, yeah.
It is the return of April, May, June hardly matters. It is basically your date.
जी सर, October, yes.
Okay, so this is one aspect. Second aspect is, जब आप ये कह रहे हैं कि मैंने क्लेम लिया, तो मैंने ट्राई किया आज काफी डिटेल में इस चीज को एलैबोरेट करने का कि what is the meaning of taking. So my humble view is taking means taking in books of accounts, not in the return. ठीक है, तो आपने अगर वहां पर अपने बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में ले लिया है, इन दैट केस यू सेटिस्फाइड 16(4), दो इट कैन बी डिस्प्यूटेड बाय द डिपार्टमेंट, बट दिस इज व्हाट माय व्यू, सपोर्टेड बाय कपल ऑफ जजमेंट ऑफ द एक्साइज लॉ। फाइन,
ओके सर।
कमिंग टू द थर्ड एस्पेक्ट, क्योंकि जो आपका प्रिसाइज क्वेश्चन था कि मैंने एक बार ले लिया और उसके बाद रिवर्स कर दिया, तो उस एक बार लेने के बाद रिवर्स करने को क्या मैंने ये कह दिया कि मैंने अवेल कर लिया? तो अवेल तो आपने पहले ही कर लिया था, बट प्लीज माइंड, ये कई जगह पर डिस्कशन में आता है ये वाली चीज कि मैं एक बार लेके उसको रिवर्स कर देता हूं, सो उससे मेरी लायबिलिटी डिस्चार्ज हो जाती है। प्लीज माइंड जीएसटी लॉ में एक बार लेके रिवर्स करके वापस लेना. Are you getting my point? You have taken once, then you have reversed it, then you want to take again back this credit after some period, after some time period, correct?
Ji,
So
sir.
this type of preposition is allowed only at one place, which is section third proviso to section 16. Correct? वो 180 days वाला जो है कि 180 days आप क्रॉस कर चुके हो तो आपको रिवर्स करना पड़ रहा है. रिवर्स क्यों करना पड़ रहा है? क्योंकि 180 days क्रॉस कर दिया आपने 16 सेकंड प्रोविजो के हिसाब से. तो थर्ड प्रोविजो अलाउ करता है कि टाइम लिमिट आपके ऊपर अप्लाई नहीं हो. So that's the only place जहां पर reversal and recredit is allowed under GST law. That's why I give a specific suggestion. In my humble opinion, always do one thing: take the credit even in the returns, but don't utilize it. Reversal करना उल्टा और आफत को बुलाना है.
Okay, sir.
रिवर्स मत कीजिए उसको.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
मत कीजिए, पड़ा रहने दीजिए उस क्रेडिट को.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
हेलो, ये धीरज बोराट जी का क्वेश्चन है. धीरज जी, मैंने अनम्यूट कर दिया आपको.
सर, एम आई ऑडिबल?
हाँ हाँ, बोलिए ना.
सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन है जो अभी अक्रॉस द इंडिया जो जीएसटी की सर्चेस चल रही हैं ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ बोगस बिल, उससे मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है सर्कुलर ट्रेडिंग से रिलेटेड. कई बार क्या होता है, ग्रुप हाउसेस 3-4 फर्में खोल के रखते हैं. एक फर्म पे C&F एजेंट होती है किसी कंपनी की, तो टारगेट पूरे करने के लिए वो अपने बिल्स एक बार अपनी दूसरी सिस्टर कंसर्न को इशू कर देती है, जहाँ पे कोई एक्चुअल मूवमेंट और कुछ भी नहीं है. या अपने जो प्रॉफिट मार्जिन इनकम टैक्स के हिसाब से होते थे कि 100 की 102 में दे दी उधर और फिर आगे से घुमा ली. तो इन सब ऐसे ट्रांजेक्शन या ऐसी जो फर्म्स बनी हुई है इंटरनली एक ही ग्रुप कंसर्न, उसको डिपार्टमेंट किस तरह से व्यू कर रहा है या क्या एक्शंस ले सकता है, या ये प्रैक्टिस जो कर रहे हैं वो सही है, या इस पे आपका क्या कहना है?
जी देखो, एक तो मैं कहूंगा कि हमेशा आदमी को लिटिगेशन से दूर रहना चाहिए. एंड जो भी ये चीजें हैं, इवन मैं अपना टर्नओवर हाइक करने के लिए ये काम कर रहा हूँ, इवन देन इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अनएथिकल प्रैक्टिस, सो वन शुड एडवाइज टू अवॉइड इट. दिस इज व्हाट फर्स्ट डायरेक्ट एडवाइस टू. करेक्ट. कमिंग टू योर स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन कि इसका लीगल अल्टीमेट आउटकम क्या होने वाला है या किस तरीके से है, देयर आर कपल ऑफ गुड जजमेंट्स ऑन इट which says कि ये जो अगर मान के चलो मैंने अपना बैंक लिमिट वगैरह लेने के लिए, लोन लेने के लिए, समथिंग इन चीजों के लिए मैंने अपना ये टर्नओवर जैकअप किया है, सो ये वाले केसेस इवेजन के नहीं बनते. 2. थर्ड एस्पेक्ट, जीएसटी लॉ में जहां तक मैं जिस तरीके से रीड करता हूं जीएसटी लॉ को, उसमें जो पेनल प्रोविजंस भी हैं, पेनल प्रोविजंस भी अल्टीमेटली तभी अट्रैक्ट होते हैं व्हेन देयर इज अ इवेजन ऑफ टैक्स. अगर आप ये चीज कह पा रहे हो कि भाई वहां इवेजन ऑफ टैक्स की बात नहीं आ रही है, तो आपके ऊपर कोई मेजर पेनल प्रोविजंस नहीं आते, ये मैं कहूंगा. बट इट इज, प्लीज माइंड, इट इज अगेन लिटिगेटिव एंड ये काफी आगे तक लिटिगेशन में जाके तभी होने वाला. एट डिपार्टमेंट एडजुडिकेशन लेवल, फर्स्ट अपीलेट लेवल, you don't expect any kind of relief on these cases. So department, once it is being cashed, department will definitely go to make the case, and you'll not get relief at least before second appeal.
जी. प्रैक्टिस क्या है कि बिफोर वैट रिजीम में भी चली आ रही थी, लोग करे आ रहे थे कि 2-3 फर्म से होती थी इनकम टैक्स को देखते हुए, तो वो बड़ा क्वाइट टफ की अब उनको राय इस हिसाब से देनी पड़ेगी कि इस प्रैक्टिस को बंद करें वो एज अर्ली एज पॉसिबल.
ट्रू, अंडरस्टैंड दैट. आई थिंक एक बार मेरा तरुण जी से बात भी हो रहा था कि दिस इज ऑल टुगेदर अ सेपरेट चैप्टर कह सकते हैं, हाउ टू हैंडल दीस टाइप ऑफ इश्यूज.
जी, थैंक यू सर. इसमें
ना तो मैं कहूंगा कि टैक्स पेयर सही है, ना मैं ये कहूंगा डिपार्टमेंट ठीक है. Even the way department goes, that is also absolutely absurd. और जो टैक्स पेयर कर रहा है वो भी गलत है. So we have to have a very legal approach with us. जब भी हम उस चीज को हैंडल कर रहे हैं तो we have to go strictly by law.
क्योंकि सर अगर डिपार्टमेंट ही करता है तो आईटीसी ब्लॉक कर देता है, तो बड़ी ह्यूज डिमांड्स आ जाती हैं और फिर वो सब प्रोसिक्यूशंस आपके बड़े लेवल पे आ जाएंगे.
I'll just give you one clue in it. See, ITC disallow कर रहा है, what does that mean?
कि भाई वो बोगस बिल्स.
नहीं, अंडरस्टैंड. सिर्फ एक लाइन बोल रहा हूं जिससे कि आप इसको और रिसर्च कर सकते हैं इस पॉइंट के ऊपर. वो आईटीसी आपने यूज कहां किया? वो आईटीसी यूज उस आदमी ने वहां किया जो कि एक्चुअली टैक्स भी नहीं था. तो हाउ कम देयर कैन बी अ टैक्स डिमांड ऑन इट? द डिपार्टमेंट इटसेल्फ सेज इट्स अ बोगस बिल. बोगस बिल मींस no supply. When there is a no supply, how come there can be a tax? So basically that ITC is being utilized against the amount which is actually not a tax.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू।
एक हमारे पास क्वेश्चन है, ये गैलेक्सी C7 Pro के नाम से है, मैंने आपको अनम्यूट किया है। किनका है ये गैलेक्सी C7 Pro? आई थिंक इज नॉट हियर। अच्छा, यहाँ पे एक इनको करते हैं अनम्यूट, देवम स्टार 18।
हेलो।
हाँ
हेलो,
हाँ
आ रही है
बोलिए,
आवाज?
हाँ बोलिए बोलिए।
सर, रूल 36(4) जो है, जिसमें बताया गया है, इफ द सप्लायर इज एबल टू फाइल the GSTR1 as per subsection 1 of section 37, right? So what about quarterly filers? Because they are not filing under subsection 1 of section 37, they are filing their GSTR1 quarterly as per section 148, because they have been given a special procedures which have been allocated to quarterly filers. So can we take a call that quarterly filers के लिए हम लोग जो भी उनके बिल्स है उसके बेसिस पे क्रेडिट ले ले and not go on the basis कि वो जब फाइल करे तब?
जस्ट थोड़ा सा रेक्टिफाई कर दूं, मतलब हाउ आई रीड दिस प्रीपोजिशन, मतलब मेरे हिसाब से रेक्टिफाई वर्ड भी ठीक नहीं है मेरे ख्याल से। मेरा आपका अलग तरीके से सोचना हो सकता है, मेरा अलग तरीके से हो सकता है। स्टिल आई एम सेइंग दैट स्टेटमेंट इज अंडर 37(1), नॉट अंडर सेक्शन 148. 148 is a special kind of mechanism for payment or registration and couple of other things. Fine. So government has exercised 148 for prescribing special procedure. Fine. Even then, the return filed by a quarterly supplier is a GSTR1 is under section 37 itself, not otherwise. Fine. 148 में जाके रिटर्न नहीं हो रहा है। बट जो क्योंकि इस तरीके से देखेंगे तो हम ये इम्पॉसिबिलिटीज क्रिएट कर दी हैं इस रूल ने कि भाई मेरे को पता कैसे चलेगा, तो मेरे को पता नहीं चल रहा। तो आई बिलीव अगर क्वार्टरली सप्लायर का मैं आज की रेट क्रेडिट यानी कि लेट्स से अक्टूबर का क्रेडिट ले लूं, नवंबर मंथ में नवंबर का क्रेडिट ले लूं, बट इन केस ऑफ दिसंबर या फिर जब भी क्वार्टरली मेरा मैच अप हो रहा है, तो उस केस में मुझे वापस से कर लेना चाहिए इफ आई वांट टू फॉलो रूल 36।
जी सर।
36(4) कितने लोग फॉलो कर रहे हैं ये भी अपने आप में चैलेंज है
सर, क्योंकि सेक्शन 16(2)(c) जो है बोलते हैं कि एक्चुअली टैक्स पेड होना चाहिए एंड दे आर कोरिलेटिंग इट विद GSTR1, द डिपार्टमेंट पीपल के अगर GSTR1 में दिखेगा तो ही क्रेडिट मिलेगा, पर एक्चुअली सेक्शन 16(2)(c) तो बोलते हैं कि टैक्स भी एक्चुअली पेड होना चाहिए। तो यहाँ पे कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन खड़ा हो रहा है एक्ट और रूल्स के बीच में।
देखो, जो आप पॉइंट कह रहे हो ना, तो उस पहली बात तो वो जो डिपार्टमेंट का आप क्लेम बता रहे हो कि वो GSTR 2A से उसको लिंक कर रहे हैं। प्रिसाइजली GSTR 2A में कोई आइटम आ गया, डज इट मीन कि उसके ऊपर टैक्स पे हो गया?
करेक्ट,
ये तो कह ही नहीं सकते ना। दूसरा, अगर मान के चलो टैक्स पे नहीं हुआ, तो ये डिपार्टमेंट को मुझे बताना पड़ेगा कि इस सप्लाई के ऊपर टैक्स नहीं पे हुआ, देन ओनली आई विल चेक। अदरवाइज कैसे चेक करूंगा? मैं बोनाफाइड तरीके से बिजनेस कर रहा हूं, देन ओनली आई विल चेक। डिपार्टमेंट अगर मुझे बताया कि इसके ऊपर नहीं हुआ, वो कम्युनिकेशन मैकेनिज्म मैंने जैसे आपको बताया रूल, वो सेक्शन 42-43 में दिया हुआ है। सो लेट द डिपार्टमेंट टेल मी कि ये आदमी ने पे नहीं किया, देन आई विल गो एंड चेक दिस इज द एस्पेक्ट। ठीक है, तो ये इस तरीके से जाना पड़ेगा, अदरवाइज फॉलो नहीं, मतलब मेरे हिसाब से इसको फॉलो करना प्रैक्टिकल नहीं है जहां पर मल्टीपल ट्रांजैक्शंस।
It seems that following Rule 36 sub Rule 4 does not give you an empowerment to claim as per section 16(2)(c).
ये आप कहां से पढ़ रहे हैं?
रूल 36(4) जो अगर हम फॉलो करते हैं फिर भी 16(2) में जाके तो वो कंडीशन फुलफिल करनी ही है। अगर मैं GSTR 2A में क्रेडिट दिख रहा है, अगर मैं क्लेम भी करता हूँ, मुझे तो पता नहीं उसने टैक्स पे किया है कि नहीं, तो अल्टीमेटली इट विल कम डाउन टू 16(2)(c) फॉर टेस्टिंग।
16(2) तो फुलफिल करना ही पड़ेगा।
जी सर।
36(4) तो हवा भरोसे है, जैसे मैंने काफी डिटेल में डिस्कस किया आपसे ये वाली चीज।
जी सर।
होना कहां से? मेरे हिसाब से तो कोई पावर ही नहीं है, जिस तरीके से मैंने डिटेल में आपको बताया। इवन जो ये रूल बन गया, वो जो आपका राइट दे रखा है उसको भी वायलेट कर रहा है। सो 36(4) मुझे नहीं लगता किसी भी तरीके से आने वाले टाइम में ये स्टैंड करने वाला है। कमिंग बैक टू पॉइंट 16(2)(c), 16(2)(c) स्पेसिफिकली कह रहा है कि अगर टैक्स पे हो रखा है देन ओनली क्रेडिट विल बी एलिजिबल। करेक्ट, फेयर एनफ। मैं थोड़ा सा पर्सपेक्टिव दे रहा हूं आपको और सोचने का कि एग्जैक्टली यही टर्मिनोलॉजी जो आप देख रहे हैं अभी 16(2)(c) में, ये पहले डिफरेंट वैट एनेक्टमेंट्स में भी अमेंड करके डाल दी थी। ओरिजिनली नहीं थी, बट डिफरेंट वैट एनेक्टमेंट्स में ये वाली चीज डाल दी थी। उसके बाद उस वैट एनेक्टमेंट में ये वाले जो क्लॉजेस थे, ये कई जगह पर कई हाई कोर्ट्स में एग्जामिन हुए, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द अराइज इंडिया दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट से, जहां पर भी क्लॉज था इसी चीज को लेके। वहां पर हाई कोर्ट ने इसको इस तरीके से एग्जामिन किया, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने अराइज इंडिया के केस में, कि ये जो प्रोविजन है, क्योंकि वहां पर चैलेंज हुआ था कि ये प्रोविजन वैलिड भी है क्या। तो अगर कोर्ट का पूरा जजमेंट आप पढ़ोगे तो उसमें ये तक लिखा हुआ है कि ये प्रोविजन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली वैलिड नहीं है। देन देयर वाज एन आर्गुमेंट कि ये गवर्नमेंट इसलिए प्ली लेके आई है सो दैट, ये क्लॉज इसलिए लेके आई है सो दैट जो लोग सर्कुलर ट्रेडिंग या फेक बिलिंग वगैरह करते हैं उनका क्रेडिट खत्म किया जाए। तो दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने इसको रेड डाउन किया इस प्रोविजन को कि हम इसको अल्ट्रा वायरस डिक्लेयर नहीं कर रहे लेकिन इसको रीड डाउन कर रहे हैं। दैट मींस इसको इस तरीके से रीड करेंगे कि ये वाला क्लॉज उन फेक बिलिंग और सर्कुलर ट्रेडिंग में चलेगा जो कि बोनाफाइड केसेस कोई परचेज करके लाया है, उस केस में जैसा वहां पर ये वाला क्लॉज नहीं चलेगा। तो और ये वाला प्लीज माइंड, ये वाला केस सुप्रीम कोर्ट से भी कंफर्म हो गया बाद में जनवरी 2018 में, सॉरी जनवरी 2017 और 18 में ये कंफर्म हुआ। उसके बाद यही का यही एनालॉजी राजस्थान हाईकोर्ट ने भी आरएस इंफ्रा ट्रांसमिशन के केस में फॉलो किया। सो प्रिसाइजली जो थीम 16(2)(c) की दिख रही है वही वेट एनेक्टमेंट्स की थीम थी और उसके ऊपर कोर्ट काफी हद तक सेटल हो गए हैं कि अगर बोनाफाइड परचेज है, व्हाट इज द बोनाफाइड परचेज, कि लेट्स से मैं एक्स आदमी से परचेज करके लाया हूं, एक्स भी ये कह रहा है कि हाँ भाई उसने मुझे सेल किया है, उसकी वहां फैक्ट्री खड़ी है, कहीं वो ऐसा नहीं है अनरजिस्टर्ड आदमी कुछ भी कहीं भी चला गया, ऐसा नहीं है, तो उसकी वहां फैक्ट्री खड़ी है, वो कह रहा है हाँ भाई मैंने सेल किया था बट समहाउ ही डजंट हैव द फंड्स टू पे द टैक्सेस। सो अगर ऐसी कोई बोनाफाइड परचेज है, इन दैट केस मेरा क्रेडिट डिसअलाउ नहीं कर सकते। दिस इज व्हाट द एनालॉजी हैज बीन टेकन फ्रॉम द डिफरेंट जजमेंट्स। लीडिंग जजमेंट्स मैंने आपको बता दिए, वो आप रेफर कर सकते हैं। Arise India from Delhi High Court and RS Infra Transmission from Rajasthan High Court. Arise India confirmed by the Supreme Court.
थैंक यू जतिन जी। हमारा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन एक है दीपेश गुंडेशा जी का।
हेलो।
हाँ दीपेश जी बोलिए।
हाँ, एम आई ऑडिबल?
यस यस।
हाँ सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि ट्रांजिशनल क्रेडिट जो होता है कि वो स्पेसिफिकली इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट के डेफिनेशन में नहीं है, तो वो इनपुट टैक्स ट्रीट किया जाएगा एज पर प्रोविजंस ऑफ द लॉ, और इन कंटिन्यूएशन ऑफ दिस रिवर्सल अंडर रूल 4243 उसको एप्लीकेबल होगा क्या? और अगर इन ट्रांजिशनल क्रेडिट रॉन्गली अवेल्ड है इसलिए रिवर्स किया तो उसके ऊपर रॉन्गली अवेलमेंट ऑफ आईटीसी का इंटरेस्ट लगेगा क्या?
माय आंसर इज नो। मेरे हिसाब से जो ट्रांजिशनल क्रेडिट है वो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट बिल्कुल भी नहीं है। पूरे जीएसटी लॉ में कहीं भी ऐसी कोई लैंग्वेज नहीं है which says the transitional credit or the credit taken under section 140 shall be treated as an input tax credit. These terminologies are nowhere in the law, not even in section 140. अगर 140 को आप रेफर करेंगे, 140 says you shall be allowed in different sub clauses says differently, but ultimately they says that the credit of eligible duties and taxes, VAT, anti-tax shall be credited to the electronic credit ledger. It doesn't say it will be treated as an input tax credit. Please mind it. So that's an important aspect. Now coming to the for rule 4243, you asked, there is no question of applying rule 4243 on it because rule 4243 is directly in relation to in that particular tax period whatever credit is being taken and how it is being utilized for exempt supply. So this credit is not being taken in that particular month. It is a transitional credit. It accrued to you on transition into GST, not input tax credit. So it will not apply. Coming back to recovery, last and third limb of your question was recovery. See, please mind, as per very strict interpretation of law, as per my understanding of section 73-74, recovery cannot be made under section 73-74 for any of the transitional credit as well. Reason being, again the terminologies used in section 73-74 are wrong availment of input tax credit or utilization of input tax credit. The term you use is input tax credit, which is not this one. Although there is a rule, rule 121 is there, which says the recovery of the transitional credit can be made through 73-74. Fine. So it is going to have a tough battle in the courts. I am already before High Court in one of the writ petition, whereby the stay has been granted to us in this in the same preposition, whereby we have claimed that recovery of the transitional credit cannot happen through section 73-74.
Thank you very much, sir.
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज फ्रॉम मिस्टर अंशुल जैन। अंशुल जी मैंने आपको अनम्यूट कर दिया।
यस सर। सर जो एलईडी पैनल्स, स्विचेस, ऐसी चीजें होती है जो विच आर नॉट परमानेंटली अटैच्ड टू द बिल्डिंग, तो उनका क्रेडिट हम लोग ले सकते हैं क्या? मतलब ऐसी चीजें जो मान लीजिए फॉल सीलिंग में लगी तो है बट वो बिल्डिंग को डैमेज किए बिना बाहर निकाली जा सकती है।
आप अगर मान के चलिए कोई भी बिल्डिंग का जो पार्ट है, जो हमें लॉ में जो वर्ड यूज है वो है कि कंस्ट्रक्शन जब आप कर रहे हो तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड से कि अगर आपने कुछ कंस्ट्रक्शन किया है और कंस्ट्रक्शन ऐसा है जो कि आपने अकाउंट फॉर इस हिसाब से किया है, विच इज गोइंग इनटू योर P&L अकाउंट, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल प्लीज माइंड इट, आई विल कम टू द सेकंड एस्पेक्ट आल्सो. सो अगर आपने उसकी अकाउंट फॉर इस तरीके से किया है कि वो P&L अकाउंट में जा रहा है, तो द मोमेंट इट इज गोइंग इनटू P&L अकाउंट, जो डेफिनेशन दी गई है 17.5 इटसेल्फ में, यू विल बी आउट ऑफ दैट. सो 17.5 उसके ऊपर लगेगा ही नहीं. वन, ठीक है. अब दूसरी जो आगे एक स्टेप और चलते हैं कि अगर मान के चलिए कोई चीज प्लांट एंड मशीनरी का बन रही है, देन इवन इफ इट इज इमूवेबल, देन आल्सो इट विल बी आउट. थर्ड एस्पेक्ट, if something is a part of building and civil structure, then the credit shall not be available if the building is for your own use. Coming to very specific things, that something which can be detached, maybe जैसे आपने कोई example लिया, और maybe fan type of thing, ठीक है, fan type of thing, or maybe a kind of support structure, that will not be part of that immovable property, and that will be out. Couple of judgment from Supreme Courts are there. अगर कोई चीज आप परमानेंटली फास्टन इस तरीके से, मतलब इस तरीके से अटैच्ड है अर्थ से या बिल्डिंग इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी से, जिसको कि आप नट बोल्ट खोल के या समथिंग इजीली विदाउट सब्सटेंशियली डैमेजिंग इट इसको आप बाहर कर सकते हो, देन इट विल नॉट बी अ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी. सो क्रेडिट विल बी इवन इफ कैपिटलाइज्ड.
ओके, थैंक यू.
Try to avoid litigation. See where you can maybe accounting standards वगैरह भी आपको देखने पड़ेंगे, कहां पर आप उसको कैपिटलाइज कर सकते हैं या नहीं कर सकते. One specific point, if you are not capitalizing it, कम से कम GST में आपको केस काफी इजी रहेगा.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take 2-3 more questions, Jatin ji, if you permit.
I'm okay.
So next question is from one Mr. Keval Bhimani. Keval ji.
Yes, sir. Jatin sir, my question is, so for in section 17.3, the land has been considered as exempt supply for the purpose of reversal when taxable as well as exempt supply is made. So my question is, I have received advance for the land. So how the time of supply will be? I mean, will the advance be included in the turnover for calculation of this reversal? Because whether we should consider land as a goods or a service, and on that basis only we can decide the time of supply. So if considered as goods, then on advance received there will be no reversal. Can you please throw some light on this?
Very, very interesting proposition. So precisely when we are agreeing to one of the aspect that this land sale of land is out of the ambit of GST only and only due to the reason of entry number 5 to schedule 3.
Yes, sir.
This is what this is what the presumption behind your question, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if it is so, probably you itself are saying that this particular immovable property is fitting into the definition of service, because definition of goods says it has to be a movable property, so it's not a movable property.
Right.
Services are anything other than the goods. So precisely the underlying assumption in this particular proposition says that it is ultimately a service, and rather you will follow 13 instead of 12.
Okay, so we have to do reversal on advance received also.
I'll also have to think it on once again, but prima facie it appears like so, because 13 also says the date for payment of taxes.
Achha,
Not,
right.
what is time of supply? Time of supply is the time when the law is saying that you need to pay tax thereon. Even though, because your restricted question at that instance was whether 12 or 13, because is it a goods or service?
Okay. So, but sir, for the reversal, we should consider that time of supply concept or not? That is the question.
Yeah, if you are asking this question, I think you can avoid this time of supply preposition at all on this. That means you can take reversal, you can take this amount into consideration in the month in which you are ultimately booking the sale.
Okay, okay, sir. So we can take that view, right?
Correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I think there are no more questions. Tarun Bhaiya. Tarun Bhaiya, you're mute. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Arun, we have our past president Arun Agarwal ji with us. Arun Bhaiya, I have unmuted you. Please share your thoughts with us, Arun Bhaiya.
Yes, Tarun, thank you. It is always a pleasure to hear my brother Jatin from Jaipur. As always, as expected, in very lucid language, he makes all of us understand the niceties of the law. Input tax credit, we know इसमें इतने issues आ रहे हैं, इतने litigations भी शुरू हो गए हैं. तो although I joined little late, मेरे ख्याल से, but still what I could hear वो 16(4) को लेके डील कर रहे थे. Then fake input tax credit को लेके डील कर रहे थे, और कुछ इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट का राइट्स एंड बेनिफिट्स को लेके, दैट मींस सेक्शन 16(4) और वो 36(4) और ये सब इश्यूज मेरे ख्याल से डील हुए होंगे. तो एंड ही वाज वेरी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इन डिस्कसिंग वेरियस recent judgments related or relevant for the topic. It was very enlightening for all our members. And एक जस्ट पॉइंट मैं बोलना चाहूंगा, फेक इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट के ऊपर किसी ने क्वेश्चन रेज किया था, जतिन ने बहुत अच्छा डील किया उसको. बट स्टिल इन फेक इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट को लेके जब हम लोग ये बात करते हैं कि व्हाट आर द सेफगार्ड्स इन द लॉ, तो we should not develop our mind, as Jatin very repeatedly said, कि we please discourage this. We should not at all, as professionals or as managers or as whatever it may be, we should not at all encourage कि we हम fake input tax credit on the basis of the arguments which Jatin said कि different high courts have taken different views, and वहाँ पे जो हमारे positive, हमारे favorable जो views हैं उसको लेके हम planning करना शुरू करते हैं, वो at least नहीं करें. That should never be encouraged. तो वो हम लोग को मेरे ख्याल से it's a responsibility on all of us not to encourage such practices, rather very highly discourage such practices, I would say. ये मेरा एक स्पेशल एम्फेसिस रहेगा, जो कि जतिन ने बहुत रिपीटेडली बोला कि भी वो आप ये मत समझिए, इसको तो एकदम डिस्करेज करना चाहिए. We should not take it at all as a tool of planning. But yes, we know when there are certain provisions, like अभी recently जो section 122, 132 में amendment भी हुआ to widen the scope, that is to basically the idea is, or the target is to catch the culprits who are intentionally doing this. और इस प्रोसेस में we know there are many of our clients who are also suffering because they are genuinely into business, they are doing genuine transactions, but still, like एक particular example अगर मैं अपना लाइफ का सोचूं, अभी रिसेंट जो है कि कोई एक रिटेलर है गारमेंट्स का, तो उसके मेरे ख्याल से they were saying कि more than 10,000 वेंडर्स होंगे. तो चलो मैंने 1,000-2,000 वेंडर्स तो मामूली बात है, और उसमें से 6 वेंडर या 10 वेंडर का डिपार्टमेंट एटलीस्ट उठा के और उसको बोलता है कि भी ये वेंडर्स तो एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करते हैं, सो आपका इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट गलत है और आप इसको रिवर्स करो, और नहीं तो हम आपका पूरा इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट ब्लॉक कर देंगे. So that is very unjustified. तो वहाँ पे definitely we have to take all arguments, and वहाँ पे these kind of high court judgments are definitely to our rescue. वहाँ we need to understand those arguments properly and apply in the interest of those clients who are genuinely into the business. Otherwise, not that we for planning कि वो जो circular trading कर रहे हैं उनके लिए हम सोचने लगे, so that should not be the idea. That is only one point I thought I can make from my side. And rest, thank you Jatin for being with us, for sparing time and preparing such a nice presentation for our members and enlightening all of us. Thank you very much. Over to Jatin again, Tarun again.
Thank you, sir. Let me take 30 seconds. Thank you, Arunji. Thank you very much. I think जो मैं मिस कर गया था, आपने बहुत अच्छे से lucidly बता दिया कि it's not a planning tool at all. It is something about we professionals have to go by law. डिपार्टमेंट क्या कर रहा है, एसएससी क्या कर रहा है, एटलीस्ट जब मैं प्रैक्टिस कर रहा हूं मैं उस तरीके से देखता हूं व्हाट इज करेक्ट लॉ. सो गो बाय करेक्ट लॉ, दैट्स इट. इट्स नॉट अ प्लानिंग टूल, and even the judgments specifically said it is for bona fide taxpayers, not for the evaders, not for the circular traders. Please mind it. That's very, very important. And once again, thank you ACAE, Tarunji, Arunji, and each and every person listening here. Thank you very much for giving me this fantastic opportunity to interact with you. Kolkata actually हर बार अच्छा लगता है, पहले आना अच्छा लगता था, अभी ऑनलाइन अच्छा लगता है. सो इट्स ऑलवेज लवली डिस्कसिंग विद यू. स्टे होम, कोविड से दूर रहो. एज जो पिछले 3-4 दिनों में जो डेवलपमेंट्स और अच्छी तरीके से सुनने में आ रहा है, इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ वेरी लॉन्ग रन इशू. कोई 3 मई को कुछ खत्म नहीं होने वाला. अल्टीमेटली बहुत सारे सेफगार्ड बहुत लंबे टाइम तक लेना है. मे बी 6 months, मे बी 1 year, इट विल गो ऑन. वी विल हैव टू लिव विद इट विद सम सेफगार्ड्स. With this word, thank you very much once again ACAE for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Jatin. Thank you, Tarun Bhaiya. Thank you.
I will now request Vivek to please give a formal vote of thanks, and then we can end the session.
Sure. Thank you, Jatin ji, for joining. And whenever we get the opportunity, we get a grab of you. As Arun Bhaiya already said that Kolkata and ACA specifically always looks forward whenever they talk about GST to Jatin ji. And without the presence of all the participants, this would not have been possible. We had maximum 130 participants at one point of time. And this program is also live on Facebook, and the recording will be available on YouTube. So thank you everyone for joining. See you all at ACA at 6 p.m. today evening, when Shivani Shah will be taking another topic, not from GST, but from sports. So join at 6 p.m. Thank you, Jatin ji, once again. Thank you, Arun Bhaiya. Thank you, Tarun Bhaiya. And thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.